Hi, Sarupa here from the soulagentblog.com, and I'm really delighted that you're going to be doing this exercise, peeling your money layers. Now, if you've been reading the blog post, and if you haven't and you're seeing this somewhere else just as the video, there will be a link underneath for the blog post, but otherwise you can go to the soulagentblog.com and find the exercise and the blog post around peeling your money layers. But if you've been reading the blog post, you'll know that this is really talking about the story that people tell about money. Now, the story that most people have, I'll give you a little bit of context. It's a defense story. It's hiding so much. And it doesn't matter whether you've got no money or your money story is so up and down, or it was good and it's now feeling like it's going backwards, or whether you feel like you've hit the ceiling and maybe other people around you think you're really, really super duper duper wealthy and lucky and brilliant and all those things, but you know that you've got this upper ceiling. I would say that probably 93 to 95% of the population of the world have got an upper ceiling. Whether they've even reached that first upper ceiling is, you know, probably even less than the 93%. But people have that ceiling because it's about growth. You know, your money story and how you claim abundance, how you allow and receive money is always about your inner growth and your inner alignment to who you are and your purpose and what you're here to do, and how you're willing to actually go into some of those places that your story is hiding. So I'll give you an example of the kind of story that I've heard over the years. And I've been working with people all over the world, you know, thousands of people I've worked with, you know, healing their money stories, doing really deep, powerful money work with them. But the kind of story I often get told, and I'll amalgamate a few here, is, you know, I had a terrible upbringing. My parents divorced when I was young. My dad ran off with all the money. So my mum really had to keep about 3 or 4 jobs. I hardly ever saw her. I was the only person at school that had to wear my, you know, brother or sister's hand-me-downs. And then later on I started my own business and I became bankrupt. And, you know, clearly I don't feel like I'm good enough. And that's like the end point. Clearly I don't feel like I'm good enough. As if, well, I don't feel like I'm good enough. And what can we do about that? And there's a lot of sort of people in the personal development world that have kind of tapped into spiritual concepts like I'm not good enough, low self-esteem, not worthy, and run with them and have made them into these big mountains and molehills of, you know, like this is a real crisis issue. And it kind of is, but not in that same way, because it's about the energy. That may be the core depth of the energy, but that isn't where you're going to find the resolving coming on, and people are wearing it as a defense of, oh, well, I'm in the club of I'm not good enough, you know, clearly I don't believe I'm good enough, and my story's so bad that there's nothing, you know, you must understand there's nothing that I can change about my money story. So the story has become the defense. So this exercise, peeling your money layers, I'm going to take you beyond the story and we're going to do a bit of excavating. So at various points during this video, I'm going to get you to pause, go and do some work in your journal. If you haven't got your journal ready at the moment, don't worry. When you first press pause to go off and do part of the exercise, the first part of the exercise, you can go and grab your journal at that point too. It's going to take you roughly about 15-20 minutes, but it's well worth it, and I'll tell you how you can use this moving forward later on at the end of this video. So let me give you the first part of the exercise. With your journal in front of you, and you don't need it at this moment, you can get it when you press pause to go and do the exercise. I want you to just sit for a minute or two and bring up your money story. Bring up the kind of things that you say and feel, and there might be the things that you say only to yourself, you know, the frustration, the jubilation. It doesn't have to be doom. It could be just the irritation. It could be anything, you know. It's such an emotional topic, money, you know, for various reasons. So just bring that up for just about a minute or so, and then I want you in your journal for 5 minutes. So set your timer on your phone, but make sure that your phone is not going to disturb you with ping pong ding dongs and notifications and take you out of the energy of the exercise. It's really important because this is about gathering that momentum and you spending time with yourself. So for 5 minutes with your timer on, your timer ding dong will be the only one that you can hear to say that it's time to come back and press play on this video so you can get the next part of the exercise. But for the first part, for 5 minutes, you're going to write why. Why is your money story that way? Why? So the question you're answering is why. You're not rewriting your money story. You're not trying to say, well, I didn't like that money story I just thought of, so I better write another one. I should have a better one. And I don't want you to think about any shoulds in any shape or form, but I want you to, having brought up the energy of your money story and the feelings it was giving you for that 1 minute, then I want you to write, well, why is it that way? Why? What's the why? So you've got, that will take you about 5 or 6 minutes or so. All you've got to do is press pause, and I will be waiting here when you get back. So you've done the first part of the exercise. How did it feel? Now I know for some people the why will have been like trying to pull teeth. You know, like, I can't think of why, and that's part of the process. It's part of the defense. It's part of the, I don't want to go underneath. It's part of the protection and the resistance to actually making a change, which is always quite an interesting one. And for some people, it won't have been long enough and there's a couple of reasons why, because the story is well rehearsed, but often that first layer of why is very, very well rehearsed too. And for some, it will just be that suddenly they're beginning to tap into something, which is fantastic. And you might be thinking, well, why did you cut it short, Sarupa? Because there's a process that I'm taking you through. So for the second part of the exercise, what I'm going to get you to do after you press pause, but first of all, I want you to hear what I'm sharing for you to do, is to go back to your journal and read your why that you just wrote, and then put a line through it. Or if you can, rip the page out. I can't always rip pages out of my journal because there's something on the other side and whatever, but cross it out after you've read it. You're just familiarising yourself with what you wrote. Cross it out so that it isn't like a fantastic piece of writing that you're keeping forever and ever and ever. It's crossed out so the energy of it is gone. And I want you to go, set your timer again for 5 minutes, and I want you to go again with the why. If those whys that you've crossed out, and this is where the exploration comes in, and the curiosity and the willingness to go underneath, those whys that you first wrote are not to be true. If we say that, imagine that they're not true, what's underneath them? So why? Why? You're going in deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you do that, it's like you're excavating. You're clearing out layers to actually start to get to what's really underneath and what's propping up and preserving your story like a foundation of a building. What's really keeping it there and supporting you in keeping that story alive, which actually stops your money story and your alignment to abundance expanding and increasing. So go and have a read of what you've written. Set your timer for 5 minutes after you've crossed out what you wrote in the first part of the exercise, and go another layer deeper with why. Some of the things you may feel that you want to go back and rewrite back into the new bit, and just say to yourself, why? The question is why? What's underneath that? Why? What's underneath that? So see it in that curious and adventurous way. So press pause, and I will be here when you come back in about 5 or 6 minutes. So twice you've done 2 parts of this exercise. There is still one more part, and some of you may have guessed it. But before we get into it, just check in. How are you feeling? How was that for you? Was it tougher? Did it suddenly flow? Do you feel like you've hit something pretty hugely significant that you've not allowed yourself to connect with? Most things we know. on one level or another, we know, but what we've done, we detach from it. We detach so far from it because it feels too enormous, or we don't want to go there because sometimes we don't actually want what we say we want to change because we're not willing to step into that change. We're not willing to make the changes, to do the work, to put the action in, to do the energy work. So it's just that comfortable place of avoidance that we stay in, and frustration, because obviously money ups and downs, or even a money ceiling, is really frustrating because you feel like you're running on the same spot and things aren't working. You start to question yourself. You start to question your career, if you're in a career, or your business and what you do and who you are. And when you're in money panic and money drama, there's absolutely nothing worse, because you can feel like the world is beginning to cave in. And there is big frustration because when we were young at school, we're taught about change and maths, and we're taught about money in terms of mathematics, and there's this idea that when you're an adult, everything just flows, everything just happens, and when it isn't, there's this huge frustration. And the reason why I really love money work, and this exercise is so powerful for people when you get underneath the why, is that you can make the changes to it, but when you make the changes that shift you into alignment with abundance, you're changing everything in your life, your business, your career, all linked to your money, your relationships, your sense of who you are, your alignment to your service, your alignment to your intuition and your guidance. Everything changes because you open up. When your money story isn't working for you, or has become stuck, plateaued, or feeling like it's going backwards when it was moving in a nice trajectory, it's because there's old energy ready to be resolved. It's not some kind of punishment. It's actually something that's coming up for resolving. But instead of resolving it, people create another story of, well, that must have happened because of this, and this is why this is this way, and the cycle begins again. So let's go on to the third part of the exercise. You can see I'm so passionate about this topic. It really is a magical part of spiritual development to be focusing on. So the third part of the exercise, and for those that have guessed it, you will be right. You are going to reread what you've written in the second part, and then you're going to cross it out and you're going to go even deeper. So your why, you're going to be asking why again. So you're going to say, if those whys are not true, what's underneath them? Why? Why is my money story this way? Why? And you're going to write for 5 minutes. Don't overthink your writing. Don't write for things that you think you should have because you read them in a book, or you heard somebody talk about it, or it sounds good. Allow yourself to flow openly and willingly with the why. So just write and write and write. And when you get stuck, stop and say why. Not why are you stuck, but why. What could be underneath it? What could be underneath that? What could be underneath this? And then you'll be excavating even deeper. So press pause, and I will be waiting here when you've completed that third and final piece. Wow, well done. So you've done the exercise, okay? That has completed the exercise, and I'm going to tell you how you can use the exercise more in a minute. But you've completed that exercise. Now, perhaps you found some really like aha, OMG things as you've been moving through the process, and do share them in the comments, whether you're watching the video or on the blog post. I would love to really hear from you as to how this process has worked, and I know it's really powerful. And the reason I've got you to stop there is so that we don't let the head get too involved with trying to take over, because then it will be another form of story that gets created that diverts you from the kind of work that you've already done now. So we pause here, and then I'm going to suggest to you that you come back and do this exercise twice more over the next 7 to 9 days. Okay, no, you don't need to do it any more than that. So you start, when you do it the second time, you start from the piece of writing that the why that you've just ended with, familiarise yourself with it, cross it off, and then write some whys underneath. Now, eventually you're going to start to get to a point where it's very consistent, because you've hit something that's been a real cause of the why and cause of what's been propping up the money story that you've been having of late or maybe all your life. And then you have a choice to work with your soul to actually change the energy of it. The first step is always the awareness. If we don't know it's there, or we're telling ourselves it's not there, or we're avoiding it's there, how can anything change? So this is that first step of awareness. And then you can work with your soul to change the energy. Now, if you want to know how to do that, and you want to know how to take that next step, drop me a line at soul@sarupashah.com, soul@sarupashah.com. The email should be coming up at the top, bottom, somewhere on the screen. Or if you're on the blog, you can use the contacts page, and we can set up a time to talk, and I can share with you how I do my money work with people, and you can decide whether that's something that you really want to step into, so that you can create that shift in your money story. Throw away the frustration, throw away the old story that yo-yos you in and out of, you know, falling in love with money, falling in hate with money, you know, panic, joy, panic, joy, and or where you're feeling that ceiling, or where you're just feeling that actually there's more, and this is just beginning to feel like things are shrinking in my life. I'm not feeling like I'm expanding. This exercise of peeling your money layers is that first step wherever you are. Because wherever you are financially, there's always a more. And then you can get to work with your soul. And if that's something that you'd like to do with me, because it's what I do, what I've been doing all around the world since 2011, I've been healing people's money stories, and drop me an email and we will have a conversation and explore what the next steps can be for you. And I would really love to connect. Be sure to share this exercise with your friends. You know, it's about lifting each other and creating abundance for all. So thank you for participating in this exercise. The shift that you have created will resonate beyond what you can imagine, not just in your life, but out where you are and across the planet. So congratulations. Come back and do it again 2 times more in the next 7 to 9 days. And I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon.